Hi, this is Majin, and here's my comic pull list for April 11, 2018. I did forget to bring in a manga before I did this. I just picked up and read called, I think one of the English titles it's going under is My Sister's a Demon, or it's like The Sister something something. But it was a really good manga, I gotta tell you. The first volume, touching story, young kid, he's 14 years old. His parents were killed in a car accident. He's being pushed from one house to another home. Nobody wants him. They think he's basically just like he's leeching off of them. He's staying with an uncle, but the uncle gets injured somehow. And the uncle had one rule: says don't go to the storage shed. Well, the kid goes to the storage shed looking for his uncle's health card, and he meets a demon. And the demon is like, well, I'm either a demon or a goddess. It just depends on how you look at it. And he's not even scared. But it says he's really innocent. And the demon is like, well, here, I'll grant you your heart's desire, but I am going to take what you value the most. And, I mean, let's put this demoness is hot, really hot for a manga demon. And the kid goes, well, I just want a big sister. I want family. And, and she's like, well, what are you going to do with your sister? And he's like, well, I want to, cook dinner with my sister. I want to read, go for walks. Purely innocent. And, like, this monster appears, and she's like, oh, it looks like you accidentally summoned this creature. And then the kid grabs her arm and tries to get her away. Saying it's dangerous, let's go. And all of this is just kind of touches the demon. And she's like, okay, well, I'll grant you this wish. So the rest of the volume is basically her adapting to the life of an older sister. And, this is not an older sister that... Okay, this is not an older sister that any of us have ever had, And it just was such a really good manga. I'll probably have to do a video for it later. But it was really, really... The first volume was really good. I mean, it has a lot of feels to it, which is nothing... I mean, it has feels that none of these books here captured. But anyways, let's go with Oblivion Song, number 2. The art in this is just... Okay, this is Kirkman, and this artist that he found is really crappy. I'm like, my God, could you have skimped out even more for art? Or are you just trying to give out a handout to somebody who couldn't get a job elsewhere? It's basically just flashback stuff, like how events that led up to the first issue, but it was just backfill. And at the very end, we get a little bit more. It kind of catches up to time and goes forward. I'm still going to get it, but I'll still get volume 3 or issue 3, but it just wasn't the greatest. That issue was not something that I would recommend, like I would do to encourage somebody to want to buy 3. Because if you were on the fence with 1, you're not buying 3 after reading that nonsense. Okay, next up is Sideways number 3. So he's fighting his villain. I guess you can say this is the second villain. The villain's tied into the Speed Force. And basically, this is what you would call a sympathetic villain. She's got cancer, but she doesn't have money for cancer. Then, for the doctors, the treatment. As luck would have it, she gets hit by the lightning bolt. She gets Speed Force. She gets speed powers. She's stealing money. But it turns out because she's using her speed powers, it's speeding the advancement of the cancer. And now she's at a point where the doctors can't cure her. So she's pissed. And some really jacked up thing happens because while they're in the middle of the little flingy battle, police arrive, and then Sideways basically escapes. He opens up a doorway, and unfortunately for the villain, the arm is stuck. half in and half out of that rift, and she loses an arm. So I cannot wait until issue 4. This villain is going to be pissed. Rightfully so pissed. Alright, Immortal Men number 1. Now, what was interesting was this is, I guess you can say in the spirit of diversity, here's a non-white hero. But it's not like they make a big deal out of it, which is actually really good, and that's the way it should be. You know, it's a character. Build a character before you build a religion or build a race or anything like that, because that doesn't necessarily define who he is. So basically what's going on is, it ties directly into dark metal. There's two sides of these immortals, and they're waging a war, and this kid is basically at the center of everything, because one side's trying to save him because he's going to save the world, which is this group here, and there's another side which looks better in terms of armor and weaponry, and they're trying to kill him. Overall, the story was okay. I mean, it's worth, these things, the problem with these types of stories is this is your cast, and the kid is basically just going to be there for a short term, because once they protect him, he's going to do his thing, and then the world is saved, and they don't need him anymore. Or it's going to be this ongoing thing where when's this big deal going to occur? Then they're going to, stretch it out way too far, and then you just lose hope because it's no longer interesting. But anyways, I thought the book was decent for a good start. I thought there was enough in there, sprinkled in there, to make people want to get the second issue. And the characters, though, are the one that's my worry. They don't necessarily look like this team that you would want to just jump on and go, wow, this is great. This is visually stimulating, and I got to get the next issue. But we'll see how this turns out. Detective Comics. My gosh. I don't know how many times they go to the well with this. But it's basically OMAC, right? And OMAC is starting to take over. And Batman and Batwoman have a coming to Jesus moment. And while they're talking and saying, hey, Batwoman's like, hey, look, we're being framed here, and we think it's Tim that's trying to do some shenanigans. And while all that's going on, we get the OMACs are activated, and yet another and yet another superhero, and of course it's somebody in the Bat family that is going to turn into an OMAC. And I'm just like going, this keeps happening, and it's like it can't keep happening. The shock value is, when I got to the page where the transformation started to occur, I'm just like, why is this happening? It doesn't. You know what I mean? To me, it doesn't make sense. To me, it's like, it would have made more sense if they tied it into the that big crossover event with the Watchmen thing, but it doesn't make any sense the way it is now, and I'm just like going. I'm very quickly losing all interest in Detective Comics. It's sad. It's just it's every issue. It's slowly making me not want to read the next one. But I don't know, we'll see. I have a feeling a bunch of people are just going to go freak out and go, oh my god, this was the greatest thing since, I don't know, White Castle hamburgers, but that they discovered in the freezer section of the local grocery store. But to me, it's just like, I've seen the story before. None of this nonsense is permanent, and I just don't want to deal with it anymore. Anyways, that's the some reviews for you. We'll have more stuff later. Hopefully, I'll read some of the Magical Girl of the Apocalypse books. And I did read the first 2 volumes of Magical Girl Sight. That is going to be awesome. The anime's come. That first episode is out on Amazon Prime, and it's gonna be great. I'm telling you, I gotta do a video for that later. Anyways, let me know what you guys are looking forward to reading the most. Like, share, we'll have more stuff later. So until next time.